Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Again with Kathy Gann. This is called Theosophy for the Young, for the very young. This is the future of our planet. So Kathy has graciously agreed to come back and do these once a month with us. So bringing these teachings into the world for parents and grandparents and teachers to use lovingly with their little ones. And what a gift it is to have Kathy here. Let me tell you a little bit about Kathy. Kathy has been studying Theosophy for almost 3 decades, and she's a member of the Theosophical Society in America. She has previously served on the board of directors of the Theosophical Order of Service, the TOS, in the United States, and she currently serves on the board of directors at the Theosophical Society in America. Kathy has also participated in leadership of her local Theosophical group in Denver, Colorado. And Kathy has a particular interest in the practical application, which is what it's all about, because it's just words on paper until you put it into practical application of these wisdom teachings. And she believes that the children who are exposed to these ancient universal principles will have the lifelong advantage of learning to really think for themselves, to choose kindness, and to respect all forms of life. So ladies and gentlemen, we're now beginning episode 2 of a monthly series that will go on for as long as we have content, and there's nothing but content. Please welcome the one and only Miss Kathy Gann. Welcome back, Kathy.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me back. And today we're going to be tackling kind of a heavy topic, but a topic that's going to be infused with a lot of encouragement and comfort as well. So last time in episode 1, I showed the book. We're using this book as a resource. It's called Because, for the Children Who Ask Why. It was originally published in 1916 by the Theosophy Company. It's no longer in print, but there is a copy online that is available as a PDF. So Anne, I believe you're going to link that.
Down below in the video, absolutely free. Just make sure you get your copy. Yes.
Very good. So the premise of the book, I'll just recap it very briefly. The premise of the book is that these 2 children, Dorothy and Milton, have been taken by their father to live with their Aunt Eleanor for the summer. That's his sister, because their mother is very chronically ill, and their dad can't take care of their mom and take care of them at the same time. So they go to spend the summer with their Aunt Eleanor. And their Aunt Eleanor turns out to be just about the wisest theosophist that ever was. She's absolutely brilliant in answering all their questions, perfectly patient, and she comes up with these wonderful analogies to help explain wisdom teachings in terms that they can easily grasp and understand and put into action in their everyday lives. She always deals with the children in a very genuine, authentic, and forthright manner. She doesn't pull any punches, but of course she does talk to them in age-appropriate language, using words and examples that they can easily understand. And that way she's able to truly communicate with them and really convey what it is that she's trying to get across. So in episode 1, we talked about a couple of really big questions that Aunt Eleanor explained to the children. The first was how to know the difference between right and wrong. That's a biggie. And then the second one was also very big, and that was who or what is meant by the word God. So those were the 2 topics that were tackled in episode 1. In this episode, we're going to be looking at chapter 5. And in chapter 5, the children's mother does pass away, and it falls to Aunt Eleanor to tell the children what has happened to them and explain to them what death means and also what it doesn't mean. And so, as always, she spoke to the children very honestly, and she told them the truth as she understands it. But for this conversation, she did speak in softer, more comforting tones than usual. So she waited until the children had played all day and were ready for bed. And then they were in their jammies and all ready for bed. And then she called them very close to her and had one on either side of her. And she said that their father wanted her to explain something to them. She said, "Your sweet mother, as you remember her, can never come back to you from her long journey. Her worn-out body has died and gone, and she is free from all its sufferings. It was the journey of death that she was on when you came to stay with me." And then she kind of kept talking, just gently and in a comforting way, kept talking. And she said she was quite certain that the 2 children were wise enough and brave enough now that they could know the truth. And she said, "I also know, and I feel very certain that you love your mother enough that you can always feel close to her, even though you can't see her face anymore." So Aunt Eleanor then explained that their mother's love for the children and for their father is part of her soul, part of her that can never die. And even now, in the state that their mother is in, she's very happy in that love that she has for her children and her husband. And in the same way, their love for their mother is part of their soul, so that can never die. And she said, your love for her doesn't die just because her body is dead. And you can be happy when you remember the expressions of her love, the way she spoke to you, the way she took care of you, things like that. You can always be happy in the love that you're always going to feel for her. And Eleanor even went so far as to suggest, and many people I think feel this way, this is a cross-cultural thing. I've heard many adults from many different traditions talk about this. And the idea is that you can be happy for the person that has passed because then they no longer have to live in such a fatigued and painful body. And then Aunt Eleanor assured the children she herself lives just as truly and even more happily. So she herself, meaning the essence of their mom, not the body, because what they think of as their mother certainly was not the body, it was that consciousness that lived through that body. And in episode 1, Aunt Eleanor had explained to the children that what we truly are deep inside is a thinker and perceiver. In other words, we are consciousness. And so that's what we truly are, and consciousness doesn't die, even though the body may die. So this is what she's getting at here. And then she used an analogy in typical Aunt Eleanor style that was so brilliant and yet so simple. She said, if you two were to go across the hall into the other room and you close the door so that you couldn't see me and I couldn't see you, you wouldn't stop loving me, would you? And they said, no. She said, I would miss you because I couldn't see you anymore, but still you would love me and I would love you. It's just the same with your mother, she said. She can't see you because she doesn't have physical eyes through which to see your physical bodies anymore, but she loves you just the same because love doesn't need eyes. Love only feels, and it's part of our soul that never dies. And then she talked to children about death in a very interesting way, and it's something that I wouldn't have thought of, frankly. It's pretty intriguing. You might have to think about this just a little bit before it all makes sense and falls into place, but I'm going to include this because I think it's really, really helpful. She said, you'll be going to bed soon and you'll be going to sleep, but you never knew that you slept, did you? You know that you're getting sleepy. You know when you're laying in bed and you're getting sleepy. But then the next thing you know, you're waking up again, but you don't really know that you're sleeping. And for purposes of this discussion, I'm going to set aside the idea of lucid dreaming because some people do experience that, but I think the majority of people do not. So I'm going to, set that aside. But for that, it's kind of true. We don't really have awareness that we are sleeping. We know we're getting sleepy and then we wake up. She said, you've seen other people sleep. But you yourself don't really truly know what sleeping is. And it's kind of like that with your mother. She went to sleep in death, you might say, but she never knew death. She did not die. She merely woke up again, but without all the pain and the tiredness, just as you might wake up from a lovely dream. And then she went a bit further into that explanation. She said, when you're sleeping, you have no idea, you have no awareness of what's going on outside in the yard, or elsewhere in the house, or even in your room. Your body is very quiet and it doesn't move around very much. But when we sleep, we leave our bodies for a time and we live in other bodies of our souls. And here, of course, she's talking about what are commonly referred to as subtle bodies or vehicles of consciousness. It's the energy bodies that we use to have emotions and have thoughts and so forth. And she said, when we sleep, we are free to use those bodies and go wherever we want, and we can be with whoever we want to be with. And so in that state, we're free to be with people we love, whether or not they are people who happen to have physical bodies right now. That doesn't matter because everybody's in that same state. And so she said, so each night in sleep, then I have absolutely no doubt that you are with your mother and father and that you love them just as you would if you were with them physically. And I have no doubt that each night in sleep, your father and now your mother are with you, and they take great delight in teaching you to be brave and true and strong. And so you can take a lot of comfort in that. And at this point, Dorothy was crying, and she said, oh, if in the morning we could only remember. And Aunt Eleanor assured her that there is a way, a sense in which we do remember. we might wake up remembering a dream. It would seem to us that it had been a dream, but perhaps a particularly vivid or real dream. We've all had those. And when we're telling about them, we always comment, it seemed so real, it was so vivid. So that's the kind of dream she's talking about. She said, we might wake up remembering a dream touch or a kiss or a word or two, so real that we didn't even want to wake up. She said, it's the realness of it, the nearness of it, that is truly remembering. And she said, it is just so very sweet and precious when that happens. And then she tucked the children into bed, and Dorothy cried out that her mother would never be able to tuck them in again at night. And Aunt Eleanor said, remember now that you're laying your body down to rest, your physical body, but you yourself are going to go where your mother is. So be with her by night, even though you miss her by day. If we could epitomize one sentence and have one theme for this episode, one rallying cry for this episode, I love this sentence. Be with her by night, even though you miss her by day. That is just the most comforting thing. So just before the children drifted off to sleep, Aunt Eleanor explained that someday, far in the future, but someday, when the children had put off their bodies, just like you would take off old worn out clothing because they're raggedy and you can't wear them anymore. And after they've had a long, peaceful and happy rest, they will come back to the world in newer and better bodies. And then they can be with their mother again because she'll be back in her newer and better body. So then they can live happily together again. And here, of course, she's talking about the teachings of Theosophy and other wisdom teachings, that we do tend to reincarnate again and again with people that we love, because those are our people, that's our tribe, and that's kind of how we are as humans. We love to be with our friends, and we love to be with people that we care about. And so it's been said that we come into incarnation with those that we love. Although interestingly, we might come back in different roles. So next time she might be their best friend instead of their mother, or Dorothy might be her mother, or Milton might be her mother. It could be an entirely different relationship. But I think this is another very, very comforting point in how she explained this to them, that not only can you be with your mother every night, whether or not you remember it, you can also be with her again in the future. So this one is a bit short, which is probably just as well for such a heavy topic. But I think there's much here to be encouraged about, and much of what she said that kind of takes the sting and the permanency out of this idea of death.
Oh, Kathy Gann, my goodness. The book again is called Because, and then ... ellipsis, for the children who ask why. And there is a link down below so you can get a copy of the PDF. This is for parents and grandparents and teachers and anybody. When I listen to you speak and reiterate these, I can't tell you how many times my heart just roars with joy and relaxation and comfort, because talking to little ones about death, even no matter how old you are, we don't tend to look at the end of that cycle. We celebrate birth, but we don't ever embrace that as day comes, night will come. And so the fact that you're talking about it so beautifully, Aunt Eleanor is the most wisest woman, and gentle and good. And your delivery is so very comforting and helpful. Thank you. There are many out there that will get quite a bit of use out of these episodes. And again, the book was written in 1916, but the wisdom in there is timeless. It's ancient. Kathy, thank you. I know, when we talk about Theosophy, these concepts, we say that they are science and they're metaphysics and it's astrology and it's complex science. It's everything, philosophy and all of the religious. It can be, but if you boil it down like they have in this beautiful book, and how Kathy so gently told us about this very valuable thing, if we could just learn to understand that death is not the end, that we continue. And these are beautiful. I always learn things when I'm with Kathy, every time. And these are elementary theosophical lessons for the very, very young. So grateful for you, sweetheart. We're going to be coming in hopefully every middle of the month, probably around the 15th. We'll be having an episode on Wednesday nights with Kathy. And I cannot thank you enough. Thank you, sweetheart. Is there anything you'd like to say after episode 2 tonight?
Just that we'll be back, as Ann said, and we have so much to cover. There's so much good material just in this one book, just things that kids just come up against every day in their lives. And it doesn't matter, as she said, that it was written in 1916, like oh man, there's a boy in my class and he just never gets it. And we're so impatient with him and the teacher has to spend so much time. Why does he seem so slow? What's behind this? What's going on, Aunt Eleanor? And she talks to the children about that. Things about, like, why do bad things happen to good people? These are things that kids want to know these things, and they deserve a good, plausible explanation. So we'll be back with lots and lots of good material.
Welcome to the end of the video. Here we are backstage at Living Theosophy 2.0. So if you like the video, please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be notified when Living Theosophy has a brand new video. And there's lots of things happening here at Living Theosophy. And I, for a long time, didn't want to ask if you would like and subscribe because I was trying to be humble. But without the algorithm, these teachings can't get out to where they need to be. So I'm going to say, please like and subscribe. And I look forward to seeing you back here. I love you.